So we got May 17th, 2020. We're deep into quarantine. We have Purple Politics Daily. You know, we're bringing in our co-host of Report from the Heartland today. We got Pops in the place. Happy to see you. And I don't know, what do we have to talk about tonight? I don't think we've defined too many topics before this conversation, but I do know that my father had some pressing information that he wanted to deliver us early on.
I want to give a shout out to Kamal first. Kamal, do you notice anything interesting here tonight?
Well, I see you got the Tommy sweatshirt on. It's I think, was it the national basketball one? National championship that St. Thomas.
If I'm not mistaken, there was a Tommy man of this three that was on the floor once in a while in the way of the mascot.
The Tomcat, the Tommy Tomcat.
Is that even, can I reveal that now, many years later? Usually that's hidden who it is, right?
Yeah, when you're in school, when you're in the job, but once you get out, I think it was, most times it was the most beloved character on the court. So
did I basically unmask you by telling the public who you were? Sorry.
I would say maybe. Let's see. The general public. I think some friends knew, but the general public is now hearing it for the first time.
And there was a ranking, so like based on how good of a game it was, they put the best Tommy in. Kamal was ranked high on that Tommy list.
Yeah, I was the ace card. It was fun to be the mascot. That was my thing back in college. They paid $40 an hour. I couldn't believe it.
Whoa, I bet you had some great moves too.
Yeah, rent was covered by just getting out there and putting on that.
There was some epic dance-offs in the middle of the basketball court.
Yeah, definitely. It was a good time. I think LJ would have made a good mascot too if he wasn't actually an athlete.
Well, and I was too short.
Oh yeah, I think he had to. Yeah, it was certain parameters. We had to actually practice with the cheerleaders, which wasn't, had nothing to complain about there.
You kind of had to be tall and lanky, potentially more of a feminine type of body, no?
I mean, I think you had to have more of a gymnast body, I would say.
Oh, okay, yeah.
You were a superstar, Kamal. I saw you. You were awesome. Now, since we're doing shout out to the shirts, what's this word behind the cousins? We mentioned that one night. Give me the lowdown on the cousins. And?
Kamal, I mean, this is a lot of your brainchild. I think this came through our discussion. We've had some weird discussions since the collapse of our last one. So,
well, it's, I was not, I learned about Curb Your Enthusiasm from you, LJ, and I remember I kind of actually watched a full episode when your dad came, to visit, and that's when I first started getting into it. And
it's an acquired taste.
It is an acquired taste. Most of the TV shows that are really good, I feel like, kind of require an acquired taste, which is cool. Then, looking at him, I was like, this guy kind of looks like Bernie Sanders. And I did some Googling, and I found out that they're actually related. And then I was like, you know what? They kind of also look like Einstein. So it was just one of those things where, after some searching, you find out that, they're all, Jews that are, it's almost like they were from the same branch, but got different parts of the genes.
We call that the same tribe.
Same tribe, exactly.
Also, yeah. Now, what was your insert into the new Mount Rushmore? You said we should add another head.
Fauci. Story. You go.
He's saying we should add Fauci to the list. He fits it. Not a bad one. If not even, maybe even in the middle, if you want to have like the new boys.
Yeah, I mean, what would Fauci look like? Is he like excited? Is he looking like this? Like, what's the Fauci look? Is he?
I think the Fauci look would be that look at it on his face when like he's kind of getting reprimanded by Trump, where he's just going. The time he's going, oh my, what did I get into? Yeah. Hey, a shout out to him though. He's doing the best he can in the circumstances. It's doing good. Yeah. Okay, I'm going right into, well, two things. I got to give a shout out to Mama Bear. 40-year anniversary. She and I have been married to each other.
Congratulations.
Suit and Demai, the history today is Norwegian Independence Day in 1814 from Sweden. But I'm Norwegian, and I lost my independence to Pam that day. So we've done a little local history on the Tommies, a little national history on Norway, the little cousins, and now to my section. I'm baffled, guys. You got to help me on this one. If you guys go back to the May 13th episode, we talk about the history of pandemics. And we got a little pushback on this, but COVID is not influenza. They're both viruses, but they're not the same. COVID's real, COVID's brutal, and COVID's taken some deaths, many deaths, and is terrible. I think the stats today, we just passed 90,000. However, I want to preface that there's some history too that we might want to look at. And we found out back in the May 13th episode, if you look at, I'll just briefly tell you, 1958, I think we had what was called the Asian flu, over 100,000 deaths. And the population in the United States was half at that time. It was 179 million. In 1968, there was the Hong Kong flu, another 100,000 deaths of influenza, but still brutal and happening like every 10 years. Okay, so I'm just trying to put all this in perspective, trying to offer hope, take away fear and panic and go to hope. Today, I was Googling a bunch, and this is the CDC website. This to me is baffling. And please go there. LJ pointed out I always tell people to go to sites, but I'm going to specifically tell you the sites. Go to the CDC sites. And
no, what you do wrong is you will tell somebody like a ridiculous conspiracy theory. You will say, and then you'll go, I didn't vote for Donald Trump. And then you'll go, and then you'll go, I'm not taking either side. Go Google it. Go Google it.
Yeah, well, that's the reality. That's what purple is all about. I didn't vote for Trump and I didn't vote for Hillary, and I haven't found my ground, but I am asking questions. So here's the question. How many deaths in influenza like in 2017, 2018? Can't find the number. This is on the CDC site, 24 to 62,000. What? Okay, just that to me is a little baffling. Shouldn't we have more specificity? So now
this is 1928?
No. Last year.
Oh.
Last year.
Okay.
Last year.
So
Yeah, go to their site last year. Okay, so I'm going, why can it be such a range? This is their site, frequently asked questions. As you go down on their site, it says the exact number of people who have been afflicted by influenza is not known every year because it's not a reportable disease in most areas of the United States. What? We're at 2019, 2020, and you don't have the exact number of influenza? So how can we even be putting this in any comparison? Then if you dig at some other sites, it says we had 70 to 80,000 last year. Okay, back up. So we didn't even know how many deaths we had and we're comparing it to something. Okay, that's one thing. Then two, I'm all for vaccinations. What success rate do you think a vaccination is? And this isn't to talk people out of vaccinations. This is according to their site, 40%. What? While this is their site. While flu vaccine can vary in how well it works, flu vaccination is the best way to prevent flu. It prevents millions of flu illnesses each year. Where does it say? Right here, the overall vaccine effectiveness is about 40%. This means flu vaccine reduced persons' overall risk of having to seek medical care in doctor's office of flu by 40%. What? I would have thought it's like 90%. So I'm just a little baffled. I think there's going to be plenty of looking back after the fact, and we can't pass judgment on anybody right now. I'm not passing Trump. I'm not passing any judgment on Cuomo, Trump, Fauci, Newsom. We're trying to get through a storm. Let's get through it. But as we move forward, guys, we got to get stats every year on what's going on with influenza. What's the problem? We can't get that within like 5,000 plus or minus. You got to be kidding me. And then I hope we increase the effectiveness of vaccinations. Are you guys baffled by that, or is that just me, an old guy, baffled by those numbers? One, that we don't know the exact number of influenza. We're throwing around numbers like 90,000 and whatever. We don't even know. In fact, there's a fair amount of sites that say that number is markedly underestimated. And two, I thought the vaccination rate was much higher. So there I am. I'm going to sit back and listen to guys smarter than I. Kamal, I think as you've been offline on a couple of these, my take home always on this purple area, you got to be willing to say 7 little words by Ed Stead. All being said, I could be wrong. I could be wrong. So help me out. What's going on with these numbers? Are you guys baffled? Wouldn't you think we'd know that number, 5,000 plus or minus?
I agree with you.
Googling.
Yeah, I would agree with you on point one. Point two is, okay, so you made 2 points. One, why is the range?
I'm confused is what my point is. I'm confused. I'm baffled.
Yeah, and to reiterate that point, you're saying, why don't we know actually how many people, like, why do we have a range of, plus or minus, let's say 30,000 deaths when it comes to influenza, which I completely agree with you, because I would assume, as a layman, as somebody who is not a doctor or somebody who is not part of the medical association, that, hey, let's say if somebody died of a car accident. Well, we know exactly how many people died of a car accident because we count that. At what point do we chalk up somebody did die of influenza or didn't die? So, like, let's say, why is the range from 24,000 to 60,000? Is there something that in the data where it's like, well, from the 24,000 to the 60,000, it's the fact that they could have been coupled with other diseases. Maybe they had cancer, maybe they had whatever, right? Like, that needs to be explained out a lot better. Plus or minus 5,000 is still too much for,
absolutely,
from a data perspective. It's like they should say, it was 9,400 deaths last year from XYZ. Like, I just don't understand why that range actually then makes that number. You can't even use it if you were in a college classroom and you wanted to write a paper and you gave a range like that, the teacher would throw out your whole paper, no matter how well your paper was written, right? So I think
particularly in the fact now that we know day to day, county by county, every number, and there's people literally sitting at home worried appropriately that this is the worst thing that's ever happened and we've never seen this before, when possibly in reality we've been there, done that. I know COVID is not influenza, but we don't even have the numbers to compare it to see what the stats are.
I mean, so, how do we have better stats of knowing how many assists LeBron James has had during a full moon than we do of how many people died of influenza, right? That
right. We need that IBM Watts computer starting to crunch numbers on this thing. Once ESPN got the rights to that bad boy, those next gen stats are serious right now.
Right.
Absolutely. So 50 years from now, so when people are looking at this, I'm sure they're going to be scratching their heads going, there's no way those 3 guys, they had to be wrong. Let's look at the stats. And they're going to go, what? Yes, indeed. They pointed out that this is baffling, not reasonable, not appropriate, and needs to be corrected. So that's my take home to those people. And anytime you're looking at the facts of science, look at what we know about the facts of history. Not that the winners can't change the facts of history, but when you Google history and the Asian flu and the Hong Kong flu, we're in no worse position now than we were then, particularly not that we're not going to be in a worse position.
I'd say we're on track to surpass those, though. I would say we're in good time to surpass those flus.
Yeah, I mean, because you have to look
However,
at the fact that like this flu is spreading and killing people, even with, I would say, at least a decent level of social distancing. You
I mean,
know,
oh,
it's a
absolutely.
ridiculous
with
amount.
zero, that number could be quite different.
I got told to leave the beach today. Like we set up, we were like playing football, like hanging out. And if you were in Long Beach today and you had a towel out and they saw that you were sitting for too long, the fire department came by and told you
Ooh.
that you had to leave the beach.
Yeah.
And like they didn't like do anything forcefully. It wasn't anything crazy other than the question, or I guess that comment of like, hey, you have to leave the beach here if you have a towel down.
Yeah, I mean, as time goes, we're having a better understanding. Or, okay, so here's the thing. I think that there needs to be honesty about the fact that there's a lot that we don't know about this virus, and we're still learning about it. Which is one example is if you're sitting in a room full of people, like let's say a subway train, versus that same amount of people spread out over a beach, the transmission rate is significantly less when you're on a beach with that same amount of people that you put on a subway car. So proximity matters, airflow matters. There's a lot of things that matter. And we need to take all those into consideration. It can't just be like a one size fits all, which actually does not work. And then we have to look at other factors that, one of them being the unemployment number, which I want to get into after we finish out the segment, because I'm seeing something very interesting happening, and I heard about it on the news today as well. That's actually affecting a lot of small businesses that has never happened before. So it'll be interesting to get into that, especially in those numbers.
And I just want to say that to preface, I'm not giving crap to people that like I would say about 40% of the beach had masks on the beach today.
Really good for you.
100%. Like it was about 40% of the people had masks on while they were walking on the beach. Funny enough, total social distancing. Everybody was not 6 feet apart, like 30 yards apart, right? But there would be I saw like several people that were alone 30 yards removed from people on their own towel with the mask on. And
Really?
nothing wrong with that. But that looked like they were taking birth control, wearing a condom and pulling out. Like I'm like, love the safety, but like you're taking it all the way. Do your
But
thing.
they're making a statement, and during this time, we have to social distance, we have to wash our hands,
Do your thing.
and we have to take those things into account, and they are. Just for a little background, because not everybody knows this, LJ's reporting from LA, Kamal's in Minneapolis, and I'm in Rochester, which is a city about an hour south of Minneapolis. So you're getting a perspective here today.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir. What do you think, Kamal?
Yeah, no, I was gonna say, so, kind of getting into that, like things that are baffling. So what's baffling to me right now is the unemployment rate, which is is real, and yet it's artificial. And what I mean by that is, um, so my family right now runs a few food trucks, as you guys know, but just for those that don't know. Um, And the average person, the average employee on our truck right now with tips makes, on the average day, they make about $20 to $23 an hour. On a weekend, they can make up to $34 an hour, because everyone comes up, they pay, they're tipping, and that's the pay, right? And we have been looking up and down, left and right, to find employees to get the second truck going. And
Sorry to stop you, but are people tipping more this summer than last summer? Like, are people that are now like frequenting businesses? Have you seen on those trucks that people are being a little bit more generous with their dollars, knowing?
I mean, what we've seen, the average tip is around like 13%. So I don't know if that's more or less. I feel like that's on par.
Okay.
I think the truck this year is just doing more business because it's a newer concept. And so the tips are going up. But
Got it.
What's interesting is, we're trying to get people, and it's actually difficult to get people to work because the average person who's on unemployment right now is making about 1,000 to $1,200 a week, right?
And why is that? Always ask the why. This is good. This is a great
Well,
point.
well, because they're getting state and federal. So federal added in a little bit more. So I think in the state of Minnesota, it's about $600 for unemployment plus another 500 to 600 through the federal stimulus that was added.
I'm
So
hearing the exact same thing in Rochester. I have several friends who run restaurants trying to get people back. They say, call me in July. I'm not coming back
yeah,
till then. And
yeah,
just as a sidelight, the national unemployment now is 14.7%. And the highest ever in depression, what we come up with one time? 24.9%. So they really think the next unemployment rate may be pushing 20%. So it's 14.7% unemployment now. Highest in depression was 24.9, and that's where we're at.
But
yeah. 'Cause I saw 30% unemployment rate. Like that's what's being reported.
and we only have 50% of people working. So
Right.
like unemployment is obviously if you've applied and registered for now.
Oh yeah.
But there's 50% of the United States actually is not currently working, either furloughed, unemployed, or pressing pause.
Yeah. So what's interesting is today we're going to the kitchen and prep. We're severely understaffed. So, we're kind of doing everything. And I was going there, ironically, I turned on NPR and there's a baker who is up in Duluth and, he's making, like, he's getting a lot of orders to come in, but he's trying to get his employees that he furloughed back in March, to come show up for work. But they're like, well, even if you pay me, let's say if you're on unemployment, you're making $1,200 a week, right? And if somebody offers you $1,500 to come back to work a week, and that's doing really good anywhere in Minnesota, right? If you're baking, um, let's say that's the case, right? They're like, well, I could sit at home and make $1,200, or I can come and work full time and make $200 to $300 more. The choice is not that hard, and so this goes back to the idea that that your dad was talking about, which is um, hold on one second. Yeah. Oh, the car key.
The baseline with all that, I think, is we as humans are going to do what's most right for us. And I don't begrudge those people at all who might decide to stay home and go, you know what? I don't have to get in my car. I don't have to risk getting COVID out there. I get an opportunity to be with my family. So Kamal, just filling in for where you might be going with this, I don't begrudge those people at all because humans are humans. And I would say, I'm going to stay home. Call me in July.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I would do the same exact thing if I was in their shoes. I'm bringing this up to say it's interesting when you look at a fact that you see on, let's say on the news, right? You see this on CNN, Fox, whatever. Let's say if they say unemployment is 14% or it's 30%, we have to take it into context of also what's happening because, is it 25% is there unemployment? Some of it is, especially for specific sectors, is that artificial? Is that real? And so all these people now they're staying home, and understandably so. We'd be doing the same thing because humans operate on incentives. What happens though when the breaks come in, right? What happens once those checks stop coming in?
End of June starts in July, then the reality hits.
The reality hits, right? And then that's when you're going to see an influx or a surplus of people actually now being like, okay, I don't have money now. I need to work.
Right.
And so that this gap is a perfect case study to see what happens when the government actually doesn't have a grasp or understanding of, it kind of feels like basic macroeconomics. Now, if they would say, look, we'll give you $600 a week regardless. If you do find a job and you're going to be on the front lines, we're going to add in another 600
Right.
because you need to wear masks. We're going to give you things to take care of yourself more.
Well,
And
that's
then
where I think if like
you know,
if we're gonna jumpstart these programs, like where sometimes some of the Republicans right now are so scared that the liberals are gonna try to jumpstart all of their negative programs at this time. Maybe it is on like the essential worker side, where it's like if you're an essential worker and you put your butt out there for the last 6 months, and maybe we have to be closed for 6 months preparing for the future. Maybe that's the type of person that deserves free college on a state level. Or that's the type of person, or maybe like, I don't know, every month you get like, that's a semester of college or something like that. Or it adds another $500 a week to your bank account. Like still, so you're offering a social program, but you're still incentivizing it the way that keeps the economy pumping.
right, right. Exactly. And so like without that incentive, because I mean, this is a basic, if you read Freakonomics 101, it's like, humans from a job perspective, we operate on incentives. So if you're incentivized to actually stay home and not work, then that's what you're going to do. And so I don't think this was like fully thought out, because this has never happened before, where the unemployment rate is like 20-some%, or 14%, or 30%, way higher than usual. And yet you still don't have people that want to work or need to work, because we've created an interesting situation.
And you point out there's going to be a whiplash effect to this, because as they're keeping track of deaths, which is terrible. Once again, this is real. This is terrible. Are they keeping track of the number of deaths of companies and small businesses? Because some have thought that it's about 100,000 businesses potentially gone. So now July 1st, if 100,000 businesses might be gone and not coming back, and I can tell you, Rochester, Minnesota is prosperous. Rochester, Minnesota is not indicative of the regular world by any means. We're in a bubble. Many businesses are going down, many. So where I'm going with this, so now in July, when those guys run out of funding, now I want to come back to work. There's going to be a lot of businesses that are gone. Now it's like there's going to be this whiplash. You've gone from not enough workers to way too many workers, and too many businesses gone that ain't coming back. This is Econ 101.5. This is baffling. Baffling, mind you.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be difficult, because the first thing to say is we could never have foreseen this coming. And like, and I also agree with the sentiment probably on both sides, which is I think we've fumbled the ball on like many different ends of this so far. Like outside of like really governors, I pretty much give everybody an F across the board. And most governors, I'm kind of going to give a B still, because they seem to be just managing this the best that they can. But I hope that the only thing that we learn from this is like, oh, well, you're just supposed to yell at the media because they're lying, or like all the numbers are lying, or next time let's not worry about it. Like we have to actually be more forward thinking with like actually, creating a game plan to allow this to work before. Because even let's say the numbers don't show up as negative as we initially thought. That doesn't mean that we might not have to deal with something like this that will be 2, 3, 4 times worse than this ever could have been or has been, right? So we have learned that a thing like this does stunt the system horribly, and we have to kind of prepare for one that would have been the one that killed 2 million people. Like, what if it was that bad? In some ways, we should go, ooh, thank God this hasn't been as bad as the numbers said. But
Absolutely.
we do have to now realize that we kind of have an Achilles heel, and preparing for that next one is going to be so vitally important. And we can't just be the type of nation, president, or political party that just sits around and yells at everybody else for doing it wrong and not planning for the future.
During this time, you got to have a little grace to both sides. Nobody expected this, but shame on us, all of us. Shout out every time, right there, baby, the deadliest enemy, Mike Osterholm, a Luther grad. He would always say it's not if, but when. They knew it was coming. Both sides knew it was coming. They've talked about this for the last 20 years. Every administration knew this was coming. They didn't know when it was coming. But if they knew it was coming. So if anybody left or right's pointing to the other side, wrong, time out, everybody's at fault. Trump, fault. Governor's fault. Americans' fault. Everybody fault. Give a little grace to everybody. Give a little break to everybody. It's not where we're at. It's where we're going. Learn from this. Ask why. And let's do it better the next time. Because you're right, LJ. You're spot on. What if this was the 2 million one? And maybe that's coming in the future. But I think we have learned. We'll come out of this having learned tons.
So, Kamal, what are you doing on your trucks right now to try to influence people to like come out? Like, what can you even say to get people all jazzed up enough to feel comfortable with doing it? Like, you obviously have a great product that people want to be a part of, but like, does that founder's story go far enough to actually influence people to take that step?
You mean to work?
Yeah.
I mean, now, like, obviously with one truck, a family can run a truck, right? Like, it doesn't take, if you could get a few more people, it makes it easier because then you kind of reduce your burden and burn rate. But to do 2 trucks, you definitely need to hire some people. So we have interviews tomorrow. But it's not as, like, compared to previous seasons, by now we would have been able to fill 3 trucks, no problem, So for how difficult, it shouldn't be this difficult. And it has been really difficult to just even get interviews done, to get people to come to interviews.
But the customers are there.
I mean, the customers, that's a thing, right? It's like, and then we were thinking like, wait, are all these customers because now everyone has like a little bit of extra money to spend? And so we're like, maybe that's the case. And so everyone is like, I'm ready to spend money. But when the supply does not meet the demand, because now we have a shortage of supply. We have a shortage of chicken in the country. So US Foods is telling me, we don't know if we can give you the amount of chicken you need the following week. And I'm like, wait, if you guys can't give us the chicken, and like, yes, we're selling, a good amount of chicken for a food truck, but we're nowhere close to a restaurant, nowhere close to a chain of restaurants. So I'm like, okay, so how are they holding out? So this is also how inflation happens. When the demand cannot meet the supply, and then there's a surplus of dollars because the government's printed money. People have this money, they want to spend it, but no one is around to make the products. No one is around to open up stores. No one is around to work. Then your dollar is not going to be able to buy anything when there's nothing left to buy.
And I would love to know how well restaurants are doing, because the sit-down restaurants aren't open even yet. So it's like, I don't think you all, for when you're buying chicken, are competing with Buffalo Wild Wings right now. So what happens when all the regulation loosens and Buffalo Wild Wings is open again? Like,
and you're hoping that the cart and the truck, the cart and the horse will line up together. You're hoping that when Buffalo Wild Wings opens up, so will the production of chicken, and so will the employees come back.
Yeah.
The hope.
Well, the restrictions, though, for 2 things. One, LJ and Kamal, thank you for putting purple politics out there, because can you imagine watching the depression unfold online? This is watching 2020 COVID express itself online to be looked at 50 years from now, because literally directly related to this, Kamal, we talked about the production areas getting hit about 2-3 weeks ago, that the timeline would absolutely show that then you weren't going to have the product available to you, that then would show in the future, you're mentioning inflation. And I will even say, start Googling hyperinflation, because I'm real concerned as we try to pay back this debt, your generation may never own a home, may never be able to pay back your debt. And why? Because like in Carter's era, a home mortgage was 18.5%. people couldn't take out home mortgages at 18.5%. Now they're 3%. They're going to be maybe 18, 25%. It'll be fun for a future classroom be going, looking at this and going, let's watch the timeline of the purple politics unraveled, and we're on the street watching this to occur, because you are seeing it at the window of your food truck every day. Inflation's here, supply and demand's here, and it'll be fun to see in a month, as all those people now want jobs, if the little businesses are even there to be able to give them jobs. What's your guys' thoughts on this? Is it going to be a V curve and, like you say, built up demand and people want to come back and buy? Or is it going to be a slow curve? Or what's your guys' guess on the bottom of this coming back? Trump going to get it back immediately, or is it going to be a slow growth?
I was concerned about, previously I was concerned about demand and then having too much supply. Now it's the other way around. The demand is going to be there. People are going to want to go to restaurants. I can see how every time somebody comes up to the truck, they're like, thank you for being out here. Because the other trucks are not even out. The other trucks are like, we're not going out there. And we're like, we're going to do it.
Is there any fear of regulation that's holding you other trucks back from not being out there?
No,
is there any gamble or gray area within that?
Well, so the trucks are usually designed to do the lunch rushes downtown when the offices are open. With the concept that we're working on, we're like, hey, no, this is a concept that like everybody wants to, try out. So we took the risk, and from a perspective of getting the word out, customers are getting the word out. They're bringing their friends. But the issue is funny when people come up to the truck. Every time they get their food, they're like, thank you so much for being out here. Like, they're thanking the business for, like, you're paying a business and you're thanking them for being there.
Yeah.
And that's when you're like, oh, this is interesting. Like, how often does the customer thank the business?
That's going to be so much fun.
Yeah. It's a lot of fun. And
are you setting up downtown? Are you downtown still, or where are you going?
Yeah. I mean, it's so much work. From when you don't have enough employees, you're doing the cleaning, the serving. It gets to a point where you're just like, this is a lot of work. It feels like food truck for every single day. And you can kind of see, though, if the economy was okay, if things did reopen safely, you can kind of see the potential that's there. But right now, instead of running two trucks, we're only doing one.
Two things on this too. LJ and Kamal were co-founders, and Broik was in on it too, wasn't he?
Yep.
With the three co-founders, Minnesota. What year did you start?
We had Nick Busowit. You were in there. We had several of us.
Yeah. But I actually talked to Tom Broik, and they canceled the food truck fair this year.
Well, so you started that in what year?
2012.
So that was a huge success that they had to cancel this year because they couldn't do it. Mm-hmm. It's once again, small businesses not being able to make it. Large businesses, directly what you're talking about, Kamal, I can tell you what's going to happen with the Buffalo Wild Wings and the Jack's Cafe downtown Minneapolis open. They aren't going to make it because with 50% capacity restrictions for who knows how long, you can't make it on 50%. It just can't be done in the restaurant world. My friends are saying it isn't happening. You got to get up to that 80% capacity, or what are you doing? You can't do it. So people don't realize you got to make margins and profits to keep businesses going. This isn't shits and giggles. This is the real deal, and it takes real work to make this happen. And in the future, might not be happening. It's brutal. So I think since more of those big businesses won't make it, I think you are in a good position to make it. So I'd get that second and third truck going quick.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a lack of trying. It's just a lack of employees, which is, it's interesting, right? You think, how is it, in what other scenario outside of a pandemic would this have ever happened? It's never happened in a scenario where we have double digits unemployment rates, and yet you can't get people to work. Like this is like an alternate universe. Like that actually, doesn't
Welcome to the baffling segment. It's the most popular segment. I'm baffled.
right. Yeah,
So
I mean,
we need to start hosting business funerals during this. Like we'll like weekly business funerals. Like, do we have any funerals to report this week? I have Shinola downtown in the arts district down here is the business funeral that I have to report this week. You seen anything local, Pops?
Well, Jack's Cafe in downtown Minneapolis, they had I don't have the article right here, but people are letting folks know this is going to be tough. This is going to be tough to come back.
So LJ, I called Ackerberg. You know, Ackerberg is a real estate, one of the bigger real estate groups in Minneapolis. They do all of Uptown and more. I called them and I was like, look, my family's looking for a restaurant, like probably at the end of the summer. But we're like looking right now. And he's like, look, I'm just going to give you a quick insight. He's like, I've been doing this for the past, 10 years. Wait one more month. And he's like, you can pick any corner you want in the city.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And he's like, call me back in 1 month. And he's like, I'll show you whatever property you want. You can take it. He's like, it'll be your pick. Just wait 1 more month. And I was
It's
like,
gonna be like the first roll on a Monopoly board, bro.
yeah.
Like just head up shop.
The interesting thing is like the big businesses that, okay, for example, the Marvel Bar, the Bachelor Farm, all the big ones in Minnesota right now, they opened up in the last recession. Like in the 2008, 2009, when everybody else was crashing, they were coming in. It's just like recycle. There's this rebirth that's happening. And interestingly enough, like I'm like, wait, we're coming in when everyone, like we're taking our shot when everyone else is going down. So it's kind of like,
no, you're in a perfect storm.
yeah,
At least where you're at. Now, the problem is that perfect storm isn't as beautiful when you're trying to take out a loan for the next restaurant. Like all these types of scenarios. Customers might be broke as heck. But then again, your product is like on that spectrum that like anybody can buy it. You're not stretching your dollar to get it.
100%. Like you're like, this is great. And I'm only paying $10. And then so people will live. I mean, our lines are like 45-minute waits now. It's like crazy.
And not only that, humans are humans. They still want to treat themselves. And
Right.
they aren't going to be able to treat themselves to a Lexus. And they aren't going to be able to treat themselves maybe to a night downtown at the Marriott, because the Marriott might not even be around that long, because 80% of the cash coming into hotels are crushed. But they can spend that money on your product, and they are going to love that. So you still got that Lutefisk burger going? The Lutefisk, did that come back high demand?
We need to get you up here to kind of like what do you call it? Give it the little like baby shower for that menu.
It's all about marketing. You should say Lutefisk special, but always put on there sold out. So when it says, tell me about the Lutefisk, and you go, well, I'd love to give you the Lutefisk sandwich today, but it's already all sold out, just to get the hype going. And I can't believe like the Trib wouldn't come, or the St. Paul Pioneer Press do something on the Lutefisk burger, because one thing, never let the truth get in the way of a good story. It's a good story. It's a myth.
They don't need better press. Watch them on Grant. The press is popping.
I mean, if you look at like, I swear, and LJ, I like haven't done any like social media stuff. Like if you look every minute, this is like, it is just popping. If I refresh this thing, like it just keeps popping.
Yeah. What is it?
It reminds
people
me
calling in to you or what?
Yeah, I mean, we have people that call us. Like there's 10 people in the DMs right now who are like, why didn't you open up today? Why didn't you open up today? Where are you going to be tomorrow? Like it reminds me.
It's so sick to see. I love it.
Yeah, it's fun. So like, if you and Elof want to come back here and help out with that second food truck, that'd be great.
Yeah, call in the SWAT team, bro. I'm ready to roll out. The interesting thing is,
I'm going to do something. Go ahead. I'm going to do something fun just for about 30 seconds. That's probably never been done before. I'm going live on a live. I'm going Facebook Live on Purple Politics right now. So, and people are hopping on. So go to YouTube, Purple Politics and pop in right now. Jake Gooder's coming on right now. Hi, Gooder. How you doing, buddy? So right there, we're going live on FaceTime for Purple Politics. Check us out. It's a show worth seeing, baby. Godspeed. Go over to YouTube right now. Godspeed. Bye-bye.
And the interesting thing is, Minneapolis, you're like saying, Ackerberg's telling you, hey, the block is going to be on sale. It's not even going to be close to as on sale as it is going to be out here in LA. Because Minneapolis hasn't turned off the way that Los Angeles has.
Yeah, that's another thing.
It's bizarre. Or think about New York.
Yeah.
Like, it's not even going to be close. Like, so you're going to be able to springboard what's happening in Minneapolis into wherever you want to go in the country.
Yeah. LA, baby.
Yeah,
LA's waiting for you.
Like LA is like, it's gonna be one of those spots, like you said, it's gonna have a bigger dip, but when it comes back up hot, it's like finally we get a chance to look at what happened in 2008 and be like, okay, what's gonna happen is real estate's gonna go up again in a few years, maybe in a year or two. So now is the time. When the elevator comes down to the bottom floor and if we can get in, we just get in.
Because you got to realize, the people that are closest to this thing, Elon, moving out. Joe Rogan, moving out. These are the type of people that, like, their tentacles are so deep into culture, they feel the reverb of what's happening more than anybody. And these people are going, I don't know if I can touch this thing anymore. Which, yeah. I'm the type of person, like, I'm kind of ride or die LA to the end. I'm still ride or die Minnesota to the end. But, like, if those people move out, that's a good thing. Granted, for the next 5 years, the Comedy Store is not going to be as fun. The job market in tech isn't going to be as fun out here. But if you look at it with longevity, within 15 years, you can finally put your hands on some of this stuff.
Yeah, but it's time for the next person to get a chance in the amusement park, right? It's like these guys have created something, and in the same way, I look at Marvel leaving. Like, so I don't know if I've told you this, but like I've been talking to Georgie, and I'm like, Georgie, I'm gonna talk to my family, and like we need a Georgie Porgy Minneapolis. Would you come out here and do it? And she was like, yeah, if you pay me. And
Minneapolis than would ever do in LA.
I know
that place would be endless in Minneapolis.
Exactly. And so now, like, this is the time where everything, it just kind of connected for me about like a week ago. And I was like, everything that we've done the last 7 years, this is actually, it's connecting now. Like, this is, dude, Cream would kill it in Rochester. It would do well. We have so many concepts, and we will now actually get the chance to just do them.
That company's done, right?
Yeah, they were done a while ago. but it's like the thing that's Minnesota is so I come back. Minnesota has a certain type of green. It is underestimated because the middle class here loves trying new things, and they have the Midwest is going to fare so much better than the East and West Coast on this.
The thing is, the Midwest always needs it groomed. They like your Nashville Coupe is that your branding is so darn dialed that it's just totally prepped. And so, and you're very smart to recognize what's happening well around the country and say, boom, we can take, it's not like, you're not just doing like a beta test. This is a sniper shot on the market when it comes to Nashville Coupe.
Yeah, because
you know what I mean? It's like, it's boom, you've hit it with the crosshairs. And that's what's cool about like having some sort of intersectionality with different LA markets, New York markets, because when you want to come to the Midwest, you know that it's already signed, sealed, and delivered. Like,
yeah, the thing that I misunderstood before, and as we're getting older, I'm getting a little bit wiser that I understand now, is that like the point of us going east and west was not actually to, like, yes, we started things there. It's like you went to the NBA and now you're coming back to play college, and you're like, bro, this is so much easier to do. And Jazz Hampton messaged me today. He's like, bro, are you Nashville Coupe? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, I've been hearing about it all around town. And I was thinking to myself, like, this is the stuff that people like. And it's like, we have so much better ideas that we can bring back to Minneapolis.
And
So
back in the day, Garnett was making as much as the other guys as a Timberwolf as the East or West Coast. And guess what? Money goes a lot further in Minnesota than it does on the East or
well,
West.
because, and I also look at it as like, if we set things up here, then like, let's say we bite the bullet for the next 6 months, 9 months, we can set up enough things here that we don't have to worry about like revenue and income coming in. And like, we can keep paying for, like now, like, keep paying for that LA apartment. Cause yes, I want to live in LA because that's going to be my home. But
Right.
Minneapolis, having Minneapolis and Minnesota in general, plus LA is actually kind of like the solution, at least how I think about it.
Well, right. I think there's some intersection to it that allows you to realize what works, because so many more people, there's so many more groups, I think, really playing in the mud or in the sandbox in Los Angeles. But I do think the follow through a lot of the times is way better in Minnesota.
Yes.
Because when the restaurants are tweaked in Minnesota, they're actually much better, like finished off. They're done well.
Yeah. Yep. Because you're seeing it's because the people that come back this way, and I was reading about the Marvel guys and whatever, it's like when they first came in, people were like, people in Minneapolis are not going to pay for $12 drinks, but they were bringing a concept that they understood really well here. As you're saying, it's the sniper shot. Like there is, I didn't think that, like, I was like, okay, there's a 90% chance Nashville Coop is going to work here because Howlin' Rays is doing so well in LA. So I'm like, the same way with the Georgie Porgy concept. It, like, when we went in there, we were blown away. People in LA love it. So I'm like, if they love it there, guess how much they would appreciate it here.
Because she brought Milan to Los Angeles, but then she didn't even realize that, like, when you're in Los Angeles, you're like, okay, this kind of has a Milan vibe. But then you bring that to Minnesota, and they're like, I've never seen this. I don't even know what you're talking about.
What's so cool now is what you guys are doing. In the old days, it was the concept you had to hear about what they were doing on the West Coast like 2 or 3 years later. Now, you guys know it. You guys know it 3 months before it even is really caught on in LA, and you can start it and bring it back and sniper it into Minnesota so quickly.
I mean, I was talking to my dad tonight, and he was like, our next Nashville Coop should be in Rochester. And I was like, yeah,
bingo, I'm ready.
And so that one, and then
I'm unemployed right now, getting a check and that extra $600 a week, but I'm willing to go to work for you July 1st.
Perfect. No, but it'll, I think it'll be good. And so, I mean, and I look at it now, I'm like, look, I get it. If I was probably in a relationship, I'd most likely stay in LA. But now I look at it, I'm like, because of the coronavirus thing, I can't like go out and talk to people anyway. I can't really do that much. We got kicked out of volunteering. And so I was like,
LA's done right now, bro. It's over.
Yeah. So if there's a time where I could like do something like this, I'm like, it's like God was like, you know what? I'm going to pause time for you to go and do your thing. And that's kind of what it feels like.
Yeah, you're not missing anything out here, bro.
Yeah.
It's
just for the record, both these guys were on the street in Skid Row, and that world is done. The nonprofits have been booted. It's baffling.
No, so this, I've been talking still with this group, though, through a few different people. And
Midnight Mission. Midnight Mission. They
serve 1,200 people every single day.
Okay.
They have had not one reported case of COVID. They're testing everybody. The president of the company gets tested 3 times a day. Like, it's like not tested 3 times a day, but he's getting like temperature checked like 3 times a day. He's going wild. But they're like this super like wild group that like loves taking things to like the farthest possible point for good. And so it's kind of like this reckless abandonment for like positivity. But that doesn't mean that they don't do things with structure and with understanding. So like, that's why they kicked out all the volunteers, and they say, the only thing that's going to happen is that people are going to serve the food to the individuals on the street from the inside, because they have about 340 beds of people, men and women, that live inside of the Midnight Mission that are a part of their rehabilitation program from drugs and alcohol. So the people who are struggling with those issues are serving the people that are dealing with the issues with being on the street. And they haven't had one COVID thing happen.
So in essence, you're a microcosm of a lockdown. They're a lockdown. Nobody's in, nobody's out.
Nobody's in,
Yeah,
nobody's
I
out.
was gonna say they've been quarantining because just naturally people like avoid Skid Row like it's a plague, and so they've not brought their COVID with them.
Exactly. They knew that COVID would come from the outside. When you walk around Skid Row, that's one of the safest spots to be as far as COVID goes. The reason you shouldn't be there right now, unless you're serving, is you're going to bring it with you.
Yeah. So I hope public health can look at this and learn from that. Mm-hmm. I hope public health, there's so many little avenues that we can learn from. And I hope Mike Osterholm is learning from that. I hope Dino Costaglu, who's the head of LA Care, I hope those guys are learning from this, observing it and going, what can we learn from that and take from that to better the situation next time?
Yeah.
It's not where we're at, it's where we're going.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So LJ, what do you got out there? I brought in baffled. Kamal brought in historical unemployment. What are you thinking out there? You did get to the beach and you didn't get prosecuted. What else? What's happening in LA?
Well, nothing's happening in LA. This place is on pause. It's a wrap.
It's like a zombie, right? Everyone's kind of like leaving for now. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like, so not only is LA shut down, but I also think just so many people left. Like, nobody's here for Christmas. Nobody's here for major holidays. This is like major holiday times 10.
Yeah.
The traffic is really
Hollywood is shut down. Hollywood shut down.
Well, that's a whole nother. That place is done.
Really?
Because that's all transplants, and all transplants went home. But
that includes Kamal. Are you a transplant that went home?
I mean, I still pay rent in LA. I'm LA. Yeah.
LA.
Yeah. Well, most people are like literally at home sucking their thumb. You're actually at home building something for the right cause. So totally different scenario. Did you see the person who got their death was recorded as a COVID death, but it was a guy that died with 0.55 blood alcohol level?
Oh, is that right?
What was he doing with 5.5?
He was drinking. He was partying.
Died from intoxication, probably not from COVID.
They marked him down as COVID.
What? That's wild.
Yeah, check it out.
LJ, tell me about the hydroxychloroquine thing, where it was buzzing like mad when Trump, in his cheerleading hat on and always overly optimistic, what some people hate. I get it.
I wouldn't call Trump always overly optimistic. That's not what I would give Trump.
His was hydroxychloroquine. He mentioned it, and then the press got on it because this man died of it, and these crazy Trump people will do whatever he says. The backstory is what now? Because you never hear it now. What's the ask why and actually follow it to completion? What's that about?
Well, is it when the trial process starts called charged, right? That's when you get charged with something and then you get sentenced later or something like that. I never really know what the sequence of it.
What happened? What
happened
to this gal? She apparently a couple took the hydroxychloroquine on Trump's recommendation. The guy died, and everybody's going, stupid people who vote for Trump, look what they do. When the real story is what?
Well, they don't really know what the whole real story is yet, but they do know that this couple had a history of domestic abuse where she was domestically abusing her husband. She had said several different times that she wanted to kill him. She was a huge anti-Trumper on her Facebook, And
Yeah, she's not a Trumper at all. She's an anti-Trumper.
but she's getting she's currently in the process of getting charged with murder.
Yeah. So the baffling thing is they're always follow the timeline a little bit, because what is today's news is tomorrow's toilet paper. And that was the biggest news forever, when in reality, it wasn't always like it seems.
Well, and we'll see. Time will tell. This is just an update on the story. It's not nothing.
Always
nothing
ask why.
finalized on it.
When you guys went to college, we were so happy to find out that you didn't go there to be told what to think, but how to think. So for all of us, ask why and figure out yourself on how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Or what you should be seeing. Draw your own conclusions. Don't take somebody else's word for it.
Anything else we need to discuss tonight?
I mean, nothing that you probably can't read in the news. Obviously, Trump's firing. Why does he fire people on a Friday night? I don't get that. You know?
That's
hello.
101.
That's marketing, because by Saturday and Sunday, some other news story is going to bump that out. So it's a smaller news. You always drop the bomb on Friday. That's marketing 101.
Yeah.
IG firing. I mean, the Democrats. I mean, some of the Republicans are actually kind of coming at him for some of these firings that are happening right now. And he said that he didn't know who's that guy who was a whistleblower, who just came out a few days ago, who was the former guy at the CDC. Was he at the CDC? But Trump said he's like, hey, I didn't know who he was.
Oh, he always said that.
Huh?
He's such an idiot when he does that.
He said, I don't know who it was, but he's like, that guy's like, he runs, he's at the top of your health department and, ran your pandemic response. Like, how do you not know who that guy was?
And he probably put him in that position, right?
Well, at least, I mean, and obviously you have the Democrats that are coming back and saying, hey, maybe that's why we have 90,000 deaths, is because you don't know who's running, what department, which is an interesting situation to look at. But
we always try to point out some bad things, but I always try to give a 2 thumbs up when somebody apologizes and has a little humility. Chuck Todd came through. He cut out and pasted something on Attorney General Barr, which was totally missed the mark on how the present was totally wrong. And he 2 days later apologized. So good job for Chuck Todd for saying that. All things said, I could be wrong, and he did it. So good for him. Google it, Attorney General Barr and Chuck Todd. Good job.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you're talking about Grassley? Awesome. I'm trying to get rid of this ad. I don't know if you guys can hear it on your end.
I can hear you.
Sheet of print dancing.
I don't know why it keeps doing that. Okay, so yeah, and Chuck Grassley, who's usually a Republican, that sides with Trump, was saying as so, and quote, Congress requires written reasons justifying an IG's removal. A general lack of confidence simply is not sufficient detail to satisfy Congress. Including, Maine's Senator Susan Collins, responded to firing a series of tweets that suggested Lennox's dismissal did not meet the standards required by law. Which makes sense.
Are we giving them a positive shout out saying challenge your own party once in a while?
No. Okay, so when it comes to challenging the Democrats,
Grassley is a Republican, and he's challenging what Trump did, saying it didn't meet the standard. Shame on you.
Yeah, well, not even shame on you. He was just saying like, hey, it didn't meet the standard, so we got to look at that. So what's interesting now is that a lot of the Democratic governors, including Cuomo, are being the Republican senators of those states, the respective states with Democratic governors, are asking for federal investigations as to why things are still closed. Is the handling of the coronavirus situation, was that okay? one thing that Cuomo's coming under fire for is that the senior citizens that had COVID, he was saying that they should go back into, their retirement centers, and maybe that could have caused some of the deaths as well. So, yeah, you're going to see a lot of Democratic governors coming under fire for being too strict. But
In Cuomo's defense, that seemed appropriate and reasonable at the time, but everyone's grandstand quarterbacking it. So
is that a procedure that's typical with like influenza or any other disease? Was it something that like this was typical protocol and so he just never addressed it uniquely for COVID? So it's something that easily could fly under? Or was it something that he implemented specifically for COVID?
Well, he was just saying that like his response, from what I've heard, is that look, there's a lot of things that were going on. This was one of them. This disease primarily attacks people that are, in senior care homes. They are people who have health issues, and they're going to die. And I thought that was like such a Trump response. Yeah, and he's like, whether we like it or not, no matter what we do, they're going to die. And
well, that's a truism, and that truism is death is fatal. Yeah. But guess there's another truism true. Life is fatal. Life, death, fatality. It is true. It's a terrible thing, but it's going to happen.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that being said, that's the situation. So what I think is happening though is that everyone wants to put out report cards, and it's not the fourth quarter yet. And so
they're saying that every time, totally dead spot on.
Yeah, and it's like we haven't even gotten out of this whole situation yet. So okay, so if the Democratic governors are being sued for being too strict right now, are we then, if this thing comes back with a vengeance, are the Republican governors going to be sued on the other end for not being like tough enough? Like we have, the pandemic has shown us that, okay, if there's an attack, you're going to see 50 states essentially acting in 50 different ways. That's what I see.
Yeah.
You're not seeing this like this national like wave of a team rolling out. It doesn't feel like the United States of America.
And why is that? Why is that?
States.
And why is that, Kamal?
I mean, for my personal opinion is that, well, we're in unprecedented time. This is a very difficult thing. This would be difficult for any president to deal with. So we got to put that out.
So you're giving Trump a little pass that he might need a little grace too?
What I'm saying is that the worst person that we could have in this situation is Trump. So as bad.
So hold on, give grace to the Democratic governors, but not to Trump.
No. I'm not saying don't. I said that this would be difficult for anybody. So I'm not saying like that this is an easy thing for Bush or Obama or for anyone else to handle. That being said, as difficult as it is, the worst person you want at quarterback in this situation is the person that we have at quarterback right now, because he's only concerned when he's on TV. He sounds like he's only concerned about his image and ratings. He went from like, this thing's going to go away after some time when the sun comes in. This thing, everyone who wants testing can get testing, to wait, it's going to take us a while to get testing. And now he's saying, well, is testing all that good anyway?
Yeah. He's been a horrible leader through this. Yeah, I don't know why we can't understand that. Like, he has not been able to keep it close enough to the vest to be able to easily unite the entire country through this. And I don't care what the media has done to him. I don't care what Democrats have done to him. This was a T-ball to be able to corral the country and create unity, even though I think the media would always try to separate that and push that away regardless. I think he had an easy way of winning this particular case, and he's fumbled the crap out of this thing so many times over. And yeah, I guess.
Well, I'm gonna, once again, the beauty of this is I will take a lie detector test. I did not vote for Trump and I did not vote for Hillary. And I'm just gonna go, I'll listen to what they said. Perhaps, however, just the other side of the coin, because you always ask why and just look at the other side. Close the borders January 31st, much to everybody's chagrin. You xenophobic, racist,
But Dad,
foreign
that's
hater.
all.
Okay,
That's
hold
all
on.
he did. He just keeps on sticking on one thing that he did. He only did basically one thing, which is close. He shut off travel to China. Whoop-de-doo. Yeah, you should have done that. Great. He's still talking about that. It's like, look, you threw one touchdown in the first quarter. This is a 4-quarter game. Stop talking about your one touchdown. And I don't even care why you threw the ball. I actually think he was throwing it into defenders because I kind of think he did it because he's a xenophobe. But granted, it worked out in his favor on this particular case, and what he did worked out in the favor to our country. But one thing.
Yeah, because
Now, and then I would always also, I could give you 10 things, but I'll give you a couple more. The timeline of what he's done, we can judge it retrospectively, but I think there's a fair amount of people, and we'll see on election day, that are judging him going, he had no idea this was coming, even though they all had it. He did the best he could, and there's a lot of points in the data that is showing he made a pretty darn good call and pushed back when people said, don't do it like that. Like a lot of our saying, you know, you should have pulled the plug a lot earlier and put us in lockdown. Really? When they put us in lockdown, we had like 100 cases at one point in America. You're going to lock down the country? We had 100 cases. So I think it's easy to pass judgment, but let's wait and see. So I'm not going against Trump by any means. Once again, I'm throwing the blanket of grace over everybody. Kamal, what were you going to say?
no, I was going to say is that, you know, when he gets up to the podium to speak and he's addressing the nation and everybody's listening and we're just trying to see which way is this thing going to go. He's all over the place. He has the grammar of somebody that's in the 5th grade. You know, he goes around and he's like, well, we have Obamagate. And then they ask him, wait, what is Obamagate? He's like, well, everybody knows what Obamagate is. Everybody's reporting on it except for your newspaper. That is like, I mean, that's like you asking a child and that's the type of response that they would give you. And it's like, why are you talking about Obamagate right now? What is it? It feels like such a deflective move. And then after that, to say, for example, you know, hey, you know, what's her name? One of the assistants at the White House was getting tested all the time. And we tested her. It was always negative, always negative. And then boom. And then one day, all of a sudden, she's positive. Where it's like, well, yeah, the reason why you keep testing her every day is because there might come a day you might catch her testing positive. The reason why
It was funny how he's like, this shows how testing doesn't work. And it's like, no, that actually showed exactly how testing does work.
right, because like if somehow he had this assumption that you take a test in February and that test covers you till December, no. The reason why they test it every day and everybody that comes in contact with him is because yesterday's test covers yesterday. It doesn't cover today, right? And so just because I think I forgot who to use this example, but it's like you walk through a metal detector test and then nothing shows up, and then one day you try to come into the building with a gun, the metal detector goes off and be like, well, why didn't the metal detector go off yesterday? Well, it's like, well, because the person didn't come in with a gun yesterday.
Yeah.
And so just because he came in today, and then, you know, so it's like the way he talks about things is just so, it gets to the point where all the other governors and everybody else looks at it and they go, you know what? Georgia's like, you know what? I know he said open May 1st, but we're just going to go at it ourselves. And then now he tells Georgia, he's like, I don't think you should open up that early. But Trump, you just said in yesterday's tweet, open up Minnesota. So it's just like he's sporadically just shooting everywhere and then hoping some of it lands. That's
the thing. I love how he talks like a fuckboy. I think it's funny, and I think it works with some things, but he doesn't keep it close enough to the vest for it to work effectively. And
Yeah.
like you're saying, he shoots too many directions. If he stayed in one space, it would work so well. Yes, Dad, he closed the border. Yes, I actually think he closed down the country quick enough. I really do think he shut this thing down really, really fast. Right before I think wasn't even like a death in the U.S. yet, or we were under like 100 deaths or whatever. And now that's a scale that you can like sit around and start gauging, did he or shouldn't he? But I think, look, he shut the country down pretty quickly off of a small relative amount of deaths. But where he really loses me is this sporadicness. And it's unbelievable how he just can't keep it close, where just wear a mask, like do some of the stuff. Say that you're getting tested. When the testing works, show, look, we are being responsible. We are acting appropriately. We're doing this for all of us. We should all do it too. The one thing that I am happy about, now, I wish there was a different president than Trump, but I am happy that we do have a Republican president other than a Democratic president, only because I don't think you would be able to hold back Republicans as long as he was able to with a Democratic president. I think we would have had much bigger issues with negative things happening. I do think Republicans are quicker to act ridiculously emotional with this type of stuff, where they would bring more guns to the street in a really negative fashion if this was a Democratic president. I think because
yeah, if it was Obama right now, we would have been. It would have been.
I don't think it would have been a good thing. I think it would have been a much more negative reaction for a while, because we have a fuckboy at president and chief right now. It held back the guard from the recklessness that does live within the Republican Party.
Yeah, and that's where it's. Yeah, I mean, that's an excellent point. So
that's a good point. I will say this: I don't want to be some big Trump defender on this, but those who follow Trump, and I love and dearly have many close to all of us that do, they would say these things. One, welcome to the world of politics, guys. There is something called Obamagate, and we can go into that another time. And if you're getting attacked by something, a good defense is countered by what? A good offense. Both sides do that. When you're getting stuff thrown at you, throw other stuff back. So Obamagate is real or not, but it's an offensive play. He's got to play that. So that's one thing in regard to that. Two, he's always this. He's about, he would say, faith, family, friends, football, and God bless America. And those who vote for him, that resonates. He's always pro-America. In this case, he's always going after China, whether that's the case or not, pro-America. He's always coming back that there's positivity out there. Let's have some hope for the future. He would go with the fear and panic, no. Facts, in theory. Pause, action, yes. And perseverance, faith, love, hope, always. That's what Trump people are hearing. Now, others aren't, but I can tell you that's what they're hearing. I know this I can say for a fact. When I was at Cook County in medical training, I was on a murder trial. We had 12 jurors, 6 eyewitnesses to a murder. Every eyewitness saw and heard something different. And they saw the same event. So that's what's baffling, but not baffling, having had that experience. Now I get it. Every press conference, the Democrat and MSNBC sees it exactly one way. Fox and Trump followers see it absolutely the other way. That's why purple people have to go to both sides, because there's a grain of truth in both sides. So I agree with what your guys are saying, but there's another side that would go.
But Dr. Smith, though, when it comes to an eyewitness, the reason why it's unreliable is because we're going off of memory. Whereas with Trump, we're going off of videos that get replayed over and over and over and over again. And so I think with that one, though, we don't have to go off of memory. We can go off of the stated, comments that are happening in its entirety. And so
give me a specific example on that. Just for an example, you spin it the way you would see it. and I will give you the spin that the right would say for the exact same. Give me an example.
Well, okay. This is a clear.
This is Trump interpretation 101, and I didn't vote for him, but I know how they think.
Okay, let me ask you. Do you think it is?
No. I go first. Give me an exact example of a video and press conference that would state exactly what you said. You go first, then I'll answer your question.
I can tell you even more than what he said. I can give you actions. The fact that him and the vice president don't wear masks. The fact that Pence showed up to Mayo Clinic when he was told over email and told when he got there and still didn't wear a mask.
And we did a whole show on that. It was shame on not only him, also shame on Mayo Clinic. So we said fumble the ball on both. In Pence's defense.
Hey, hold up. You said let him describe this. You can't jump in. You said let him describe. Let him describe.
So even when he was asked, but even if he was asked after that, they continuously, Trump has not one time worn a mask, one time on TV worn a mask. If it was any other president, I'm saying from George Washington down to Obama, at one point or another, if this is a pandemic we're talking about 90,000 people have died, they would have at least once worn a mask. And you know why people want Trump to wear a mask? For the reason that there are people who are loyal Trump voters. And if no one else can convince them, hopefully he could. Now, there is no question whether or not we believe how dangerous this is, while we're still in from it or not. We do know that it may not be 100% reduction rate, but wearing a mask helps, right? And so people wear it in restaurants. Somebody make your barista person. We make chicken. We wear a mask. Like that's just, again, maybe there might be days where he didn't have enough in the office, something. But the fact that alone, the symbolism behind that fake machoism leads for people to not think, hey, is this a serious thing? Some of them are saying it sends mixed signals. And he does that continuously, day in and day out, in many different ways. So that is, to me, the crux of the problem, is that you can point to the big stuff, like you said, okay, close the borders, fine. The problem to me is that how are you fumbling the little handoffs? And it's a lot of the little handoffs that should not even be that hard not to fumble.
Totally agree with you. We all should lead by example, make it happen, and service above self. I'll give you fully that one. And I hope some Republicans are listening, because you're dead spot on. I'll give you that. No doubt about it.
Trump, when you like him as a person who leans more right, and I do like a lot of the things that Trump does. Don't get me wrong. I do think he's funny. I actually think he has a lot of charisma. And I like some of the ways that he leads this country, but I don't actually think he's a good leader. And he's kind of like watching a really good quarterback with a big arm. You know that he has it in him. You know he can throw the big shot. You know he can score touchdowns. He does it in exciting ways. But every time he gets hit, he fumbles. And, it's like every time there's a media talk at the end of the game, he says something stupid. Like he's always getting arrested off of the outside of the stadium. Like he makes it so hard to like him. It's like, dude, I like you because you can throw big balls and it's exciting. But do that. And then and stop doing all the other bullshit. It's kind of like watching a Johnny Manziel play quarterback. You like so much about him, but at the end of the day, he's just a bad quarterback. He can't lead a football team. That's what it feels like watching Donald Trump as a person who likes some of his qualities.
It's like he stayed out at the bars too late on a Saturday night. And then now it's instead of us talking about the game on Sunday, we're talking about the fact that he was out Friday night.
Exactly. Agree with you that that's how the left sees it.
Yeah.
And I can tell you the right sees it in the sense that they think he's not taken on another team of 11 people. They would say kind of 20 people on the field are against him. That's what they feel. and that he deflects them. And not only that, deflects them and then walks away. The other day he had a present where the left just went nuts on him that he huffed off the stage and he was so mad. And it's like, I saw it. He just left. So both sides hype it more than is reality. And both sides give him a bigger pass than reality. And guess what? In 160 some days, we get to vote again.
Yeah. I mean, I know that if any other, again, if Obama would have walked off that stage like that, or any other president, which usually does not happen, you know, they don't get to a point where they just say, all right, cool, well, I'm done. And not even like a thank you for your time. It was just like, I'm done. You know, it just kind of shows.
Hey, fuck you.
He just has, it's like.
And the Trump people love that. You take that as an affront. They go, good job for you. That in that world got him votes. And that's an exact thing we're talking about. People see the exact same thing and interpret it differently.
The problem is, though, Dad, the Trump voter is the same people that give Obama for having a tan suit, and they also give him shit for taking selfies. They are so hypocritical with this shit. And not to say that the left doesn't have some hypocrisy going in it. That's why I can't jump all the way in. But the right, funny enough, is actually more emotional than the left a lot of the time. They think that they're like these like just independent free thinkers all the time, that like they don't get emotional, they only think forward. And it's like, you guys are really, you get triggered so much. It's bizarre.
Hold it. Time out. Don't say you guys, because I'm not.
I'm talking to the right. I'm talking to
Republicans. Like I'm defending Trump.
Now, if you feel offended by me speaking directly to Republicans, maybe that has nothing to do with you. That has nothing to do with my statement.
No, I mean, so I think
I won't be offended, but after Kamal's done, I'll comment back.
I think that Democrats know, like, you know, obviously there was the whole thing of like the terminology snowflake was created by the rights for the left, right? So I think that a lot of Democrats would be like, yes, like I do care. Yes, I do have feelings. Yes, I am emotional. They would admit those things. I think
there you go.
We talk to most. But yes, I think that the Republicans care as much. They're also emotional, and they do get hurt. You know, they do wear their emotions on their sleeves too. And so it is interesting, you know, seeing that be like, well, it is funny. And I'm like, okay, it is funny. But then I just, you know, again, watching this side-by-side comparison, as LJ mentioned, is like, you know, I have many clips, you know, we can go through that where Fox just saw, again, Obama with the tan suit and the selfies and inviting Common to the White House. Like, he was berated. And it was almost as if like, you know, it was like the craziest thing that's ever happened. And obviously the left defended him, just like the right is defending Trump right now. But I'm not baffled by the fact that the right is defending Trump. I get it. But it's the fact of saying like, playing oblivious and be like, what did he do? It's like, what do you mean, what did he do? Like, you saw what he did. We all saw it. I like that you say the right likes that stuff. But then to say
they love that stuff.
Yeah, they love that
stuff. They love it.
But they love it because it bothers the left. That's why they love it. Yeah. Not because that's
hello, knock knock, Puddinhead. Yes, the hardcore right loves to give it to the left, and the hardcore left loves to give it to the right. Hello.
The
egg cracked open. You're right. Humans are human.
But here's the thing, though. It's not the right wants the left by any means necessary. They don't care how it's done. And now we have a buffoon at the top of a pandemic. And they're saying, well, as long as the left is getting triggered, it's like, keep the comet coming. As long as the left is getting triggered, who cares if we all just go? You know, that's how I'm looking at it. I'm like, there is a certain line at some point to be like, the price that we're paying maybe is not as fun as just seeing the left triggered. At some point, it's like, I like the left being triggered, but I don't like it enough to burn the whole country down.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this. Somebody who doesn't agree with you, which is 52 million people last time, the Democrats said 54, and I think the Republicans, that person is, how do you explain to that person? How do you say you're an idiot, you're a buffoon? You voted for a buffoon, so you're a buffoon.
This
Because you got to be careful how they're interpreting what you say, because they're going,
no, I mean, no, I don't.
"Oh,
No, I don't. The reason I don't have to be careful is because it's like telling me that I need to wear gloves at the boxing match, but the other person can take their gloves off the whole time. What I'm saying is that we're all under the same country. So if Trump gets voted in again, as I've said before, it is what it is. That is just the reality situation. If Trump is president only for the next few months or for the next 4 years, I'm an American. And if this country goes up or down, sideways, we're all on this roller coaster together. But at the end of the
and
day,
that's what purple's all about. We are on it together, and let's
we're
make it happen."
all exactly, we're all in this together. And so what I'm saying is that if the right is cool with this and they loved what's happened in the last 4 years, vote for Trump again, because then you get to see what else he can do the next 4 years. So at the end of the 8 years, we could say, that was a great ride, or it wasn't worth it to hire him again just to stick it to the left. There's got to be a line at some point, I'm thinking, for the
Yeah.
right to be like,
The percent that is just trying to stick it to the left is, I think, the same percent on the left trying to stick to the right. I don't think most are like that. I think most are like Mama Bear, who are just literally, when they close the curtain, sadly, it's the lesser of two evils every time in their mind. In their mind, it's the lesser of two evils. So it was Trump versus Hillary.
Yep.
People just could not do Hillary. Even Biden couldn't do it. I'm sorry, even Bernie people could not do it. I was at the Bernie rally. They could not vote for Hillary. Same thing now. You're going to get behind what we all agree on. Of 340 million, this is the best both sides have. I'm baffled again.
The problem is that it's like watching a hockey game and we're cheering too much for the fights. The fights don't put points on the board. So, like, yes, it's fun to watch a fight. It's fun to watch the right beat up the left. I do like that. I think it's hilarious sometimes. And I'm starting to like it more to watch the left fight the left fight the right. I think that's funny too, because I think it's funny when everybody gets scattered. But like, everyone's literally sitting around in the corner now, punching each other's lights out, and they forgot about the puck. They forgot about the scoreboard. They forgot about what actually scores points in the real game. So that's what I hate about Trump, is he's like the leader and he's like the coach, and he cares more about fighting in the corner than he cares about putting points on the board. And it's gotten flip-flop. It doesn't make sense anymore.
Well, and therefore, when we go behind the curtain to vote, you'll either go left or right or not. Once again, the big group is the group that didn't vote at all, 60 million. They're looking at all this and going, I don't even want to talk about it. Or like LJ and I, the 10 million who voted but didn't vote for either. It'll be really interesting again. But I think people are people, humans are humans. I know both sides wish it wasn't a lot of fighting, but it is what it is. It's sad, but I hope America moves forward in a positive way, and we beat COVID.
I mean, at the end of the day, it is ride or die, and that's why I think a lot of people are passionate about it and voicing their opinions. But it will be interesting to see. As I said before, like, hey, if Trump is president again, like the first time, I was very disappointed. But this time around, I actually won't be disappointed. I'll be like, oh, buckle up. Let's go. Another 4 years of this.
This will bring us into, LJ and I touched on this a little. I would love Kamal's opinion. I'm seeing with a lot of my lefty friends, which is I probably am 60-40 left friends versus righty friends, 60 on the heavy on the left. They don't want to see Biden as the nominee. A third of those people want Biden out. What's your thought on that? I know the process is going to be tough, but if he doesn't win the first round, could they get Cuomo in? Could they get Michelle in? Could they get Cuomo in with Stacey Abrams? Could they get the representative from Florida? Do you really think if they had a pre-vote, before you go in for those two, if the pre-vote was, do you want to keep Biden or get a new candidate? What do you think they would say? Just the Democrats voting. Do you think he would win that? The pre-round. The pre-round.
He made it out of I don't know how many candidates. So at this point, I think it is too late to pick anybody else.
What percent of the Democrats would want him out?
Probably 30%.
That's what they say, 30%. That's baffling. So it'll be real interesting. I don't think they'll be able to boot him out, but a lot of people want him out. And who would you two take on? So it's probably going to be Biden. It'll be Trump, God willing, and it works out for all. We don't want anything bad to happen. Who does Biden take as his VP? Klobuchar got a chance. Stacey Abrams, going to be your senator from Harris from California. Is it going to be that rep?
You're way too far north if you think Klobuchar has a chance.
Really?
Yeah.
It's not going to happen?
Oh.
I mean,
I like Klobuchar, don't get me wrong, but I am not hearing that sentiment out here.
No.
I mean, obviously, Biden's weakest point, right? Weakest area is he needs somebody progressive. So Biden doesn't need help with white voters in the East Coast or the Midwest or Black voters in the South. I think, he feels pretty strong there. I think he's looking at this from a data statistical point. That's how he's going to pick. Whereas Trump is going to pick, if it was Trump issues, he'd pick based on feelings, and and his feelings were right the last time. So I think Trump is going to pick. He's going to pick a young progressive. Who's the guy from Texas? What's his name? Beto O'Rourke. I can see him picking Beto O'Rourke.
Really? I haven't even heard him on the screen. Oh God, Trump people would love if it's Beto. Please let it be O'Rourke. That's what they're going to say. Please let it be O'Rourke. Oh my God.
Look, I actually learned this from the Republicans. Be careful what you wish for, because if Beto is from Texas, and he almost beat one of the top Republicans. Almost.
You said such a key thing there.
What?
Almost beat.
Yeah.
He lost. He's a loser. This is what the Trump guys would say. Two white guys on the ticket. Oh my God, that would be a ticket made in heaven. Ticket made in heaven. Oh my God! Please, come on.
But
please
try
to get that in.
To almost lose.
Trump might call into the show tonight.
Okay, if you are one of the top, if you look at the top 5 Democrats, they're nowhere close to losing to any Republican. The fact that Ted Cruz, who is almost a president, lost to a newcomer in Texas, a top Republican in a top Republican state, almost lost to a guy named Beto O'Rourke. It's like you have to admit that Texas is not as red as.
Texas is purple as Minnesota right now.
Right.
Minnesota might go from blue to red, and Texas might go from red to blue. So yeah. LJ, so you're saying Beto O'Rourke. Who do you say, LJ?
Man, I almost it matters if he's trying to win. I don't know if he's trying to win. Almost, it's weird because I would say he has to go with Elizabeth Warren if he actually wanted to win, a legitimate ticket that people are gonna go, oh, this is a real one. Because what you would do in this situation is you would appease all of the people that are the group that says, look, we're voting for him because we think this is the only way to get these kind of conservative white and then conservative Southern voters to even think that the Democrats have a chance. And then all of the huge vocal liberal base would finally have a talking point again to say, look, Biden's too old to be president. We know that Elizabeth Warren would actually be our president. Regardless of that happening and how that would play out, there would be a belief and a hope again inside of the Democratic ticket to say, we see what they're doing. They're leading with a face. that we believe it takes still to win within the patriarchy of America. But now we have a real engine in that ticket that's actually going to create the progressive strategies that we've always designed.
Your liberal friends on the left coast, could they vote? Could they do that? Could they do Elizabeth?
I think that's the only way that you could get a vocal base to come and actually be. The evangelicals of the Democratic ticket are gone right now. They don't have talking points to say, this is the candidate, this is the party that I've always died for. And I only see her as a potential real vehicle of that voice, because he's not going to do Bernie.
Okay, I'll give you that. Kamal, what do you think after he said that? Would you still go with O'Rourke?
Yeah, I mean, I think that if it's not O'Rourke, then it's definitely a female VP. So that's another area that he is weak in. And so if it's not Stacey Abrams or Elizabeth Warren, it might be somebody from Nevada. What's her face from Nevada?
I know
anyway,
yeah, can't think of her name. How about that rep from Florida that's been a black woman that's coming up? I can't remember her name, but she's in the running.
Too early, I think.
Too early.
My opinion. This is all opinions, right?
So LJ's going Elizabeth Warren. You're going O'Rourke. I'm going to go. After this discussion, LJ, I'm going with Elizabeth Warren because I think he's already got the black vote. So he needs to get the woman vote. But I'm going to make a huge prediction here overall. If Trump wins, if he was, and I have no idea if he's going to, if he wins, you know which sector gets it, the demographic? The black vote. It's going to go from Republican 8% to over 20%. And that, it's not going to be the suburban woman this time. It's going to be the black vote that won it. And the Democrats are going to go, what the hell just happened? Because they think the Candace Owens are an anomaly. There's no Candace Owens. There's Candace Owens out there. There's tons of black Trump voters. It'll be interesting.
Yeah. So there's a lot of people in the country that would be willing to vote for a Republican ticket. Trump is unfortunately completely standing in the way of that happening. You're not wrong to say that there's a lot of people wanting to vote that way, but they can't because of him. And
I was one of them last time. I couldn't vote for either. And it's sad when you go close the curtain, you go, usually I'll vote for the lesser of two evils. And you go, I can't honestly vote for either. And that's why I voted for you and you voted for me. Kamal, could LJ Rye, you got to vote for one of us so we can double our vote. Because you're in Minnesota.
Yeah,
I'm not going to vote for you this time, Dad.
Why?
You're leaning a little bit too right for me right now. I'm reconsidering.
The only reason I'm going right is to defend Trump's position because you're both going hard left.
No, I know.
Hard left. I'm trying to keep it evened up.
No, through these first 10 episodes, I've learned a lot about you. You've lost my vote.
Okay, then I'm going hard left. I can take your program hard left. That's easy. I can tell you, I'm as deep left as any of you guys. You guys are minor leaguers if you want.
Wait, but we have to get this on the record. So you're saying that Biden's going to pick Elizabeth Warren as his VP? Because this is kind of a fun.
I just stole mine.
What?
You kind of stole mine, Dad.
After listening to this discussion, I go your way. Because and thinking about that, I would have thought it's Stacey Abrams. But in thinking about it, I think the black vote that he's going to get is already in his camp. And quite honestly, for some reason, I wrote Elizabeth Warren off, and I would give it 60-40 Elizabeth over somebody else. It won't be Kamala Harris, and she was the early front runner. There's no way it's going to be her.
Oh, that would.
Do you agree with that?
Okay, so here's the thing. It's not Kamala Harris. But here is, if it's not Beto O'Rourke, I was actually going to go more your way, Doc said, which is Stacey Abrams, which is, and here's why. She wants to be the president someday. And the pitch that Biden is going to give her is, hey, look, I was once a VP. And now I'm the presidential candidate. This is a good way for you to build up your reputation, to do everything.
She would do it. Absolutely. She's been politicking for it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's
So
not a hard sell for her. She'll do that.
Why hasn't anybody gone with the governor of Michigan?
Whitler or Whittier? No, that's not going to happen.
no, you're not gonna. No, I mean even the
She's been
Democrats.
jockeying. No, the reason I'm asking is she's trying to jockey for that right now.
Oh,
Yeah,
the
I mean, even
Democrats don't even want her. No.
Yeah, even the Democrats are just like, yo, like you went a little bit too hard. Like you should let people paint their houses
Yeah.
during quarantine.
Okay, all right, my bad. Sorry, didn't know it was such a hot topic. I thought we were able to. Thought this was a
When
safe
she
space.
let the lefties go out in their canoes and kayaks, but wouldn't let the righties go out in their fishing boats, both sides said, "Oh, bad move."
Yeah,
So-
see, in this situation, the Democrats are not going, so good for you for sticking it to the Republicans. Ha ha ha. They're like,
Good
that's not
call.
fair. That's not fair, you know?
Oh, all right,
They're like,
my bad.
So I like this prediction stuff. So any others? So we always go over baffling. We always go over history. We kind of do follow-ups. We thank people. We jostle them once in a while if they deserve it. What is on the horizon we should be following up? What's just coming up on the horizon that we need to follow? And I'm going to say Kamal's touched it, but I'm going to take it further. It's not inflation. It's hyperinflation. Our generation has no idea what that is. Hang on to your hats, boys. You are personally going to find out about hyperinflation. So start Googling that. Okay, you guys, that's my prediction for the future. What do you say, LJ?
I'm just interested to see how many brand name companies go down. You know, it's going to be wild to see some really marquee names go. I do have a level of optimism. I hope we don't also do an overwhelming amount of bailout on some of this stuff too. Unfortunately, I think that naturally sometimes these recycling types of scenarios are valuable for just churning up the dirt to allow new groups to rise and take that place. It's going to be, I think it's going to be a Rolodex of groups that we could have never imagined fall.
4 of the big airlines. What are they? Delta, American, Southwest, and whoever.
United.
Which one?
United. And that's the one that goes. Thank you. Whenever it's the one where you
go.
go.
The 4 go. 1 or 2 of the 4 go. And then the other big one, so I agree with you, LJ, spot on. Hotels. Marriott, Sheraton. Some of the big ones are going to fall, and I feel bad for them. And this was on, I think, NPR today, because a lot of the big things are saying, yeah, 20% off to 50% off on your holiday trip over Christmas to this big city. Yeah, pay them up. They might not even be around by Christmas.
Exactly. And that right there, the fact that people have uncertainty is that level of uncertainty is bad for the economy. I mean, now I'm finding deals that are telling me, yo, if you come to Italy, we'll basically pay you to come to Italy. You know, I mean, Australia, have you seen the new deals for Australia it's putting out for tourism? I mean, seriously, it's...
Okay, what are you predicting, Kamal, to start watching? So I'm going hyperinflation. LJ's going, companies going down. What's your thoughts?
The only thing I can add to this is that 2020 is the next 100 years. We're going to look at 2020 and people are going to quote it. People are going to write about it. It's going to be historical.
That's why we're journaling, baby.
Exactly. And the fact that this is happening, the fact that this is a good time to double down on things. This is a good time to actually start running into more of your ideas and dreams and different things, because when else is the world gonna, I don't know, it's such an interesting time that's going to be written about for such a long time.
What you're talking about is working on yourself, making yourself better. You can't cure the world right now, but you can work on yourself.
Yeah. And
this, thanks to you guys, what a neat reservoir of information 50 years from now. If they'll be going, what in the hell were they doing in 2020? What were they thinking about? 2 buds and a dad. This is great.
yeah, give them something to talk about. Give them something to write about. Give history something to mention, and you have the opportunity to create that this year.
Right. When do you think we'll see the first person to finish Netflix? I'm waiting for that headline to come out where it's like,
to finish Netflix. What does that mean?
to finish Netflix.
No, let's see.
All of it?
Where it just is like, dude, I finished it.
Excuse me 1 second. I got to take a call. Don't.
No, we're out. This is it. We're done.
We're done?
This is the night. Say your last word, sir.
Lead by example, make it happen, service above self, and your children are watching. Faith, family, friends, football, and God bless America. Kamal?
I second that.
All right. Godspeed. Love you all. And good night.